The Dallas Mavericks. They suck. Which is weird to say because they've been really good for a long time, like a decade plus. Hopefully Mark Cuban's feelings aren't too hurt, although he might be hurting the feelings of a lot of referees this season with how bad this team is. What do the Mavericks do from here? This is always a team that has just had Dirk as the star player. They were able to surround him with enough talent, whether it be through free agency or some smart trades. Of course, the job that they did of surrounding Dirk with a lot of defensive players who knew how to win to defeat the Miami Heat in the finals, it was crazy. But the 2016 Mavericks are pretty damn bad, as they are 2-12 at the moment. Now, there have been injuries. Dirk has played in like half the games, same thing with Deron Williams. Even then, I didn't think these guys were a playoff team anyway. I figured they were going to be like the least athletic team in the league and all that stuff. There are some things to take away though, one of which is Harrison Barnes is good. Pretty damn good, as he's currently putting up 21.6 rebounds on 47% from the field, and the game that sticks out to me with Barnes was the one against the Celtics, where they just went ISO with him in the fourth quarter, and he just rose up and shot a bunch of mid-range jumpers, and he scored like 3 or 4 times in a row. His one-on-one ability and his ability to attack the basket off the dribble is like way better than I thought it was going to be, and probably a lot of us thought it was going to be, so Barnes seems like a real player. Of course, he is a nice defender, and now he's averaging a whopping 1 assist a game, so I guess that's the next evolution of his game, but to go from where he was in Golden State to where he is now, that's pretty damn impressive, so it seems Barnes is a real guy for them. Besides that, I mean, Wesley Matthews has basically been a disaster. They took the risk with the Achilles injury, and he is not the lockdown defender as well as the knockdown shooter anymore. He also had a nice post-up game for a shooting guard. He's just not very effective anymore on either side of the ball. Now, can Wesley get it back? Maybe. I mean, they say the Achilles injury is about 1 year to really come back from. He shouldn't have been playing last season at all. So maybe by mid-season this year we can really see that the shooting increase and the overall efficiency as well as the defense become respectable again for Wesley. Hopefully. I hope he hasn't fallen off a cliff. And for the past couple seasons, these guys have been free agent destinations with Chandler Parsons, Harrison Barnes, Wesley Matthews, almost DeAndre Jordan. And now that the Mavs are just as bad as they are, I don't see how you draw in a free agent. It also doesn't help when, based on where the salary cap's going to be next season at $102 million, they'll have about $9 million freed up. That's not enough to get a player who can really make a difference. Now, the one option you do have is with Dirk's contract, which is a team option. He's currently making $25 million. I don't know if you can get Dirk to take 15, but if you can, then that could open you up for some free agents. But even then, with how bad this team is, I don't know if you can really put your eggs into that basket. But at the same time, it's definitely worth a shot. I mean, there's guys like Nerlens Noel, who is similar to DeAndre Jordan of a few years ago. Nerlens is the defender and the athlete they could really use, especially next to Dirk, because while Dirk hasn't been very good in the games that he's actually played this year, last season he was awesome. He was like an efficient 17-point scorer, and given his game, I think there's a chance Dirk could at least have maybe one more season left in him. You put him and Nerlens next to each other, I think that could be a thing. Hell, if Dirk comes off the bench and plays 20 minutes a game, maybe he can play until he's like 42 or something, I don't know. Just no defense, all shooting. But besides all that, the Mavs need to tank. And luckily they're already tanking, while also trying to win, as they're 2-12, and I'm pretty sure they have the worst record in the NBA. They have all of their draft picks, which is really weird, because I figure with a team that buys like the Mavericks do, they wouldn't have them, but they do, so I think their best opportunity is just be as bad as possible this season, and then you can get yourself some player, whoever it may be, whether it's Markelle Fultz or maybe Josh Jackson, although you do have Harrison Barnes at the 3. There's Lonzo Ball, there's Harry Giles, although we have no idea what's up with his lower body. These are the type of guys that you could acquire if you're the Mavs, and then I think you just go from there. So then I think you might have to really embrace a young style of play. which is interesting for the Mavs because it seems like that's never been their thing. They've always been about trying to win, but they've also had Dirk Nowitzki for like over a decade, so it made sense they were trying to win. If you just bottom out this season, if Harrison Barnes can maintain what he is, and then you draft, let's just say you draft Dennis Smith, right? Then you're going into the next season with Dennis Smith, your young, exciting point guard. Harrison Barnes he's only 24 at the moment, so he's got a long career ahead of him as a shooter, as a potentially an ISO player, the way he's been this season. And then I think you got something exciting going on. And then if we want to get into a little perfect world scenario, if you can get to a situation where you draft someone like Dennis Smith, you do get Dirk to take less money, and then you sign, like, once again, Nerlens Noel, then you're actually looking pretty damn exciting for the future. I think that is like the super optimistic, perfect scenario thing that's probably not going to happen, but you definitely can tank and draft a top player this offseason. Now, as far as the guys on their roster, for anybody else they can embrace on this young movement thing, I mean, Justin Anderson is an athlete, but he has no offensive game whatsoever. Dwight Powell is definitely an athlete as a big man, but is he ever going to develop a real offensive game, a 15-footer, perhaps even a three-point shot? He doesn't shoot well from the free throw line. I think he could be a nice 25-minute-a-game player at his absolute peak, simply as an athlete and a defender, but hopefully he can grow into more than just that. I mean, there's Jonathan Gibson, who's come out of nowhere to be a scorer for them. He's 29 years old. Good for him, but I don't know what his long-term future is with the Mavericks. Seth Curry is a nice player to come off the bench and be a shooter and a scorer, but I don't think he's a starting shooting guard. Mavericks might be in for the long haul. I think this offseason you could see them draft some exciting young player and probably look to acquire some free agents that are a bit more under the radar, that are a bit younger, that you think can grow into something. I mean, the move that comes to my head is the Trailblazers giving Aminu like what we all perceive to be too much money. And then Aminu shot 36% from three while also being pretty damn good on defense. I think that's the sort of thing that the Mavericks need to go for this offseason. But again, they're only going to have about $10 million freed up, so that would only give you like one under-the-radar player. Depending on how much money you end up actually giving Dirk this offseason, I think at this point in his career, he's like a $12 million player, honestly. Because, like, yeah, he's still a fine shooter, but his defense is just, well, it's not good at all. Now, if he's actually going to get that much money, I don't know, because this is real life, and the NBA salary situation is freaking weird. Also, Dirk's a really good guy, and he's been on the Mavericks for so damn long, I can understand why you'd give him like $20 million to ride it out. Or hell, maybe he retires, and then you just got all $25 million freed up, and then you can just go wild, whatever the hell you want to do. Now, if that actually happens, I don't know. But one thing that should be said is, when they go on this young route thing, which I think they should do, and given their salary situation, it's the one they pretty much have to do. You have Rick Carlisle, who is one of the best coaches in the league, second best in my opinion behind Greg Popovich. So it's not like the young guys are just going to be running around like a bunch of idiots. Like, they will have a lot of really good guidance from Carlisle. So I think given the age of Dirk, as well as the drop-off of Wesley Matthews, and the fact that you're 2-12 at the moment, I think it's time to tank, man. Time to get a high draft pick, pair up some young, exciting player with Harrison Barnes, who's exploded this season, and then just go that route and try to find some diamonds under the rough that you think can become real NBA players, and then just go for it. But then again, this is Mark Cuban we're talking about, so maybe he'll find some really weird way to bring some star free agent in. Who knows?